To understand the difference between Docker and Kubernetes, let's first discuss what does they really mean. So Docker is an implementation of container technology which is provided by the company Docker. Container technology existed before the emergence of Docker in Linux containers, LXC. But what Docker company has done is that they provided the missing user experience and mechanism to centrally share, pull, and push container images. So, container is basically an operating system level virtualization, or it can be application level virtualization over multiple network resources. Although all of the running containers on a single machine share an operating system kernel, they each have separate namespaces for different processes and networking, control groups for allocating and controlling resources, and so on. So that software applications can run in isolated user spaces called containers in any cloud or non cloud environment. Regardless of their type or vendor, in simple words, containers are packages of software that contain all of the necessary elements to run applications in any environment. For example, in case of Google, its YouTube, search, or Gmail applications run in containers. So if you go back to the Docker, it's a commercial containerization platform and runtime provided by the company Docker Inc. that helps developers to build, deploy, and run containers. It uses a client server architecture with simple commands and automation through a single API. Every container provides a scheduler, or we can say an orchestrator. It's a component which is responsible for starting, stopping, and managing the container processes. This technology is often referred to as container infrastructure as a service. In the Docker ecosystem, this is typically provided by the Docker Swarm or Kubernetes. Now, the question is what is Kubernetes then? Kubernetes is a popular open source platform that orchestrates container runtime system across a cluster of network resources. It's a Greek word which means an orchestrator. So Kubernetes is an open source orchestrator for deploying containerized applications that was originally developed by Google because Google needed a way to run billions of containers a week at scale. Kubernetes was released as open source by Google in 2014, but gradually it became not just a key player in the market but an industry standard orchestration tool for containers and distributed application deployment. And Kubernetes can be used with or without Docker. A key design goal behind Kubernetes, as per Google itself, was to make it easy to deploy and manage complex distributed systems while still benefiting from the improved utilization that containers enable. So, in simple words, Docker is a containerization platform and runtime, and Kubernetes is a platform or an orchestrator for running and managing containers from many container runtimes, including Docker. While Docker provides an efficient way to package and distribute containerized applications for running and managing containers at scale, we may need Kubernetes. Container and Kubernetes space is a constantly evolving space. It is best to keep an eye on the official documentation for any new changes. And to solve the challenges of managing containers at a scale, several solutions to orchestrate containers emerged in the form of Kubernetes, Docker Form, Mesos, HashiCorp Nomad, and others. So, an ideal comparison should not be between Docker versus Kubernetes. It should be Docker Swarm versus Kubernetes. Docker Swarm or Docker Swarm mode is a container orchestration tool like Kubernetes, meaning it allows the management of multiple containers deployed across multiple hosts running the Docker server. So, more about this Docker Swarm versus Kubernetes discussion we'll try to cover in the next part.